मित्रो, आज चा जो टॉपिक आहे तो आहे एक्झामिनेशन ऑफ मोटर सिस्टम. आणि मला वाटतं की हा अत्यंत महत्वाचा विषय आहे अंडर ग्रॅज्युएट स्टुडंटसाठी. कारण मोटर सिस्टम एक्झामिनेशन जर आली नाही तर तुमचं थेरेटिकल नॉलेज किती जरी असलं तरी तो विद्यार्थी पास होऊ शकत नाही. त्यामुळे या महत्वाच्या विषयावर आज मी आपल्याशी डिस्कस करणार आहे. त्यापूर्वी पण आपल्याला सांगितलेलं आहे, रिपिटेशन अगेन, की मोटर सिस्टम एक्झामिनेशन मध्ये 6-7 वेगवेगळे पॉइंट्स कोणते असतात. उदाहरणार्थ साईज ऑफ मसल्स, दुसरं टोन ऑफ मसल्स, तिसरं पॉवर ऑफ मसल्स, नंबर 4 कोऑर्डिनेशन, नंबर 5 इनव्हॉलेंटरी मुवमेंट्स, नंबर 6 रिफ्लेक्सेस आणि नंबर 7 Danta reflex. So these are the 7 things which we have to examine when you are examining motor system. आता आपण बोलूया साईज ऑफ मसल. आता साईज ऑफ मसल हे वेगवेगळ्या प्रकारे असू शकते. उदाहरणार्थ साईज ऑफ मसल कॅन बी नॉर्मल, साईज ऑफ मसल्स कॅन बी स्मॉल, and if it is small it is because of wasting, and therefore you find that is called as an atrophy. Atrophy means wasting of muscles. Or there can be a disease where the muscles are increasing in size, especially normally in the wrestlers, but in abnormal situation there can be increase in size, and most important muscle is gastrocnemius. And you find that gastrocnemius is very big, and therefore that is called as hypertrophy. And this hypertrophy is not natural, it is false. Therefore it is called as pseudo hypertrophy. How do you know that? That even if the muscle is increased in size or hypertrophy, it is weak. While in wrestler, the hypertrophy is associated with a good strength, and therefore it is called a pseudo hypertrophy. Therefore, mitro, size of muscles can be normal, it can be small, which is called as wasted or atrophy, or it can be more, called as hypertrophy. Now, let us go to how to find out wasting. And most important area where you should know about wasting is small muscles of the hand. Now, in small muscles of hand, you know, this is hypothenar eminence, this is thenar eminence, and in between these two, you get lumbricals and infraction. So whenever there is a wasting, you find that hypothenar eminence gets flattened. This is normal. You can see the book here. And if this is flattened, then you say that there is a wasting of hypothenar muscles. Same situation is with thenar muscles. Now, how do you know whether lumbricals or intraosseous are wasted? Now, lumbricals and intraosseous attached to the palmar tendons. And if the intraosseous is affected, then you get a groove. You get a groove in between the two tendons, which will tell you that lumbricals and intraosseous are wasted. So these are the 3 things to be remembered when you talk about wasting of small muscles of the hand. Now, if the whole limb is wasted, lower motor neuron type of lesion, then one limb will be smaller than the other limb, and that can be done by measurement if you want, or you can know it very easily. I always do example that in cases of upper motor neuron, you get an atrophy because that limb is not used, and therefore it is called as disused atrophy. Now, if you go to thigh muscles, on one side you find that thigh muscles are normal, on the other side they are small, or the wasting can be seen on the medial aspect of the thigh muscles. Same situation is in the lungs. in the legs, where you find that there will be khadda or depression, flattening, indicating that there is wasting of muscles. Out of all this, wasting of small muscles of hand is of extremely important because there are a number of diseases where you can get wasting of small muscles of hand. Common thing which you should remember as an undergraduate student is motor neuron disease, rheumatoid arthritis, cervical spondylosis, syringomyelia. So these are the 3-4 conditions where you can get bilateral wasting of small muscles of the hand. After knowing the wasting or size of muscles, we move to the tone. Tone मध्ये already repeatedly telling you that tone is a sustained contraction of muscle. So how do we find tone? Now, when the tone is being seen, you have to flex that particular joint and see the effort made to do the flexion. If you can do very easily, it means there is a less tone called as hypotonia. Now here I will show you that I am doing this movement and this is a normal movement. But if I find that I can do it very easily, it means there is hypotonia. If I find that when I am doing this, I have to exert a lot, जोर द्यावा लागतो, and then you find that elbow is flexed. This particular spasticity, increased to hypertonia, when it is in earlier part and then it gets relaxed, is called as clasp knife spasticity. Second is hypertonia is said that it is throughout the movement, and when this particular increasing tone is throughout the movement, it is called as lead pipe rigidity. In Parkinsonism, there are tremors, and therefore this rigidity is intermittent, which is called as cog-wheel rigidity, which I have told you in our discussion with Parkinsonism. Now, how to see the tone in the lower limb? What you have to do is that you have to flex the knee, and here, if you can do it very easily, hypotonia. If you have to do pressure, it means that the tone is increased. So that is how you find out tone in muscle. So, listing size of muscles, tone of muscles, then we come to important discussion of power in muscles. Now, when we talk of power, you know that there are Indian Council of Medical Research has given grades of power. Now, grade 0, total paralysis, grade 1, flickering movement, grade 2, movement possible if gravity is eliminated. Number 4, possible against gravity but less than normal, and grade 5 is normal. So these are the 5 grades of power. How to test power in various muscles. Now we start from above downwards. And above downward, what you should do is ask the patient to get up and you give resistance to forehead. Take the breath. That's right. So this is how you find out flexor. If the position is positive, then over the back, you can do that, and that is how you can see the power in the flexor muscles of the neck. Then going to the now, if you want to see power in the shoulder muscles, shoulder girdle, and you know in shoulder girdle there are 2 important muscles. One is supraspinatus and other is deltoid. So when you do that, ask the patient to abduct the hand. Yes. So initial part, you can put your hand over the supraspinatus, and then later on, this is the deltoid. So deltoid movement is abduction in both supraspinatus are there and then deltoid. And then when you look at the shoulder, you get a flattening. This flattening will tell you that there is a wasting of deltoid. Next muscle to be tested is infraspinatus. Now, accelerate. Infraspinatus, supraspinatus, infraspinatus. Then we come to serratus anterior. Serratus anterior, what we should do is ask the patient to put both hands and press it. And then in that case you find that the scapula becomes prominent. The median end of the scapula becomes prominent. That is called a winging of scapula. So serratus anterior is tested by asking the patient to press over the wall, and you can see the winging of the scapula. So serratus anterior, supraspinatus, and then if you want to find out the trapezius, so what you do is that ask the patient so if you do pressure on that and you do the pressure against resistance, then you find that the trapezius is now. Secondly, this is pectoralis major. So pectoralis, supraspinatus, infraspinatus, and serratus anterior are related to girdle muscles. Then we go to upper limb. In upper limb, if the muscles are wasted, best way is grip. Put your fingers across so that you don't injure yourself, and then the weight. So grip is very good, normal, and therefore in a patient who has got wasting of small muscles of hand, we find that the grip is weak. That is how we test weakness in the small muscles of the hand. Then coming to the biceps muscle, action of biceps is flexion of the elbow, and therefore when you are doing this, what you should do is put your hand over the biceps muscle and ask the patient to flex it up, and then you give resistance. When you give resistance, you find that there is a good power. Then we come to triceps. Action of triceps is extension. Now put your hand over tricep. So this is how the tricep is made. Flex the hand and ask him to extend, give resistance, and you get the contraction of the triceps muscle. Third is brachioradialis. So you should give hand like this and ask him to capture it. Right. Okay. Yes. This is how you test brachioradialis. So in upper limb, short muscles of the hand, biceps, triceps, and brachioradialis. Then we come to lower limb. In lower limb, the activities are that flexion of the hip, extension of the hip. In the knee, flexion of the knee, extension of the knee. In foot, dorsiflexion and plantar flexion. So let us start with knee. Now, action of at the knee is by quadriceps. The action of quadriceps is extension of the knee. Therefore, what we should do is flex the knee and ask him to extend and give resistance. You find that contraction of the quadriceps muscle. Now, Now what I am doing is, this is the knee. I am now, this is complete flexion of the knee. And now we'll ask patient to extend the arm. Now, now, so this is, so when he is doing this, then now, I can feel a strong contraction of the quadriceps muscle. Now, if you want to find out the flexion of the knee, in that case, what you have to do is, you have to keep this at right angle, right? And then put your hand over the gastrocnemius and ask him to flex, Kalika, right? And then this is flexion of the knee. Now coming to leg. In leg movement, one is flexion, other is extension, dorsiflexion and extension. Now here, what you should do, put your hand over the ankle joint and ask the patient to move the finger over again. Right. Right. Yes. When he is doing that, he can feel the resistance. And that tells you extension of the plastic dorsiflexion, extension of the ankle joint. Now, an opposite of it is flexion. So what you should do, hold the leg and carry the left, right, and do resistance. That is the dorsiflexion and plantar flexion is done. So, dorsiflexion, plantar flexion, and flexion of the knee, extension of the knee, and then we come to flexion of the hip. Now, for flexion of the hip, what you should do is ask the patient to flex the knee, and he should touch the knee to his chest. Now, you will find that this is flex, and then he does this. This is flexion of the hip. And when he is doing that, he gets the you register and you find that the resistance is seen. This is how we look for the flexion of the hip. Extension of hip, simple. Make this leg like this. Put your hand on hamstring muscle and ask it, Karina. Right. So that is extension of hip. So flexion, extension, knee joint I have already told. So these are the ways by which power of muscles can be found out. So friends, we have talked about size of muscles, we have talked about tone of muscle, and then we have also talked about power of muscles. Then we come to coordination. Coordination मध्ये upper limb मध्ये finger nose test and lower limb मध्ये heel knee test. So in upper limb, ask the patient to touch your finger and then put this finger over the tip of the nose like this. Yes. Now you can see you do it very regularly, rhythmically, and therefore this is normal coordination in the upper limb. In the lower limb, what you should do is ask the patient to heel over the knee and then take it down straightly. Then again here. Correct. Right. Now if there is an abnormality, you find that he will do like this and then it will come. That is because of weakness of muscles. Weakness of muscles. And therefore, if the muscles are weak, naturally you will not be able to do movement. Then what do you say? I have told you in upper motor neuron. We say that coordination cannot be tested. It cannot be tested because of lack of power in the muscles. So this is about coordination. After that, we come to involuntary movements are not important. I have told you fasciculations. I have told you about tremors, then accelerate movement and all that. Fourier movement. These are two, three, four abnormal movement. Generally, they are not there. And then after abnormal movement, we come reflexes, which is a very important for our discussion. In reflexes, what you do in lower limb is major and ankle. Now, for finding out major, this is 128 kg, and then what you should do is that now when you do that, basic principle is that the leg should be off the ground. Then if you are testing major in sitting position, otherwise what you should do is that take the knee, take the knee, and then this is tendon, this is patellar tendon, and therefore when you hit, it should be that patellar tendon. See this. You can see the contraction of quadriceps. And then please remember that you should not press your anterior tuberosity. Number of students make mistake in examination because they never tested in the board. You kick over the quadriceps. You can see that there is an extension of knee. And this is L2, L3, 4. You should know root values of all the deep reflexes. Then we come to ankle. In the ankle here, you have to flick the knee. And when you flick the knee, left sole, you carry the dorsiflexion partly, not complete, partly dorsiflexion, lift up, and then kick over the gastronomic. And then what happens? There is a lateral flexion. I will repeat, flex the knee, put your hand, one hand over the sole, little dorsiflex, and then kick over the tendo actually. You will see the contraction of muscle and plantar flexion of the leg. Here the root value is just 1. Now, when you how do you know that the reflex is present? There are 3 ways by which we can find out whether the reflex is present. One is contraction of muscle can be seen. If it is exaggerated, it is very nicely seen. But suppose the reflex is absent, then what do you know? Then you are not able to see contraction in a muscle. In such a situation, there are 3 ways. One is movement at joint. If there is a movement at joint, it means muscle is contracted. Second is the contraction can be seen. And third important, friends, is contraction can be palpated. You can palpate the quadriceps and then find out whether it is being contraction is felt or not. So these are the 3 ways by which we can find out whether reflex is present. Then I come to clonus. What is clonus? Clonus is sustained contraction of the muscle. And the clonus is present whenever there is a hypertonia, increase in tone. And therefore, when you are finding, if you want to find out the patellar clonus, please remember that what you should do is, you should put your hand above the patella and then push it. And after pushing, continue pressure. Now I will tell you what are the mistakes done by the student. Number 1, instead of doing this, they go like this. From below, it is a blender, which is a blender, remember. Therefore, what you should do is, press from above and only pressure in it. जैसे काय करतात असं दाबतात आणि सोडून देतात. Then you don't get contraction continuous quadriceps. What you have to do is press it and continue pressure. The pressure is to be continued, and then you find there is a continuous contraction of the quadriceps muscle. which is called a Patelian clonus. Then we come to ankle clonus. Ankle clonus करता महत्वाचे म्हणजे the leg should flex and then you put your hand over like this and then you will move jerk. And then again, after giving jerk, you have to maintain the pressure. And then you find that the continuous movement of the leg muscles, indicating that it is ankle clonus. Therefore, in lower limb, knee jerk, ankle jerk, patellar clonus, and the ankle clonus. Then I come to upper limb reflex. In upper limb, biceps, triceps, and supine. In biceps, you have to keep hand semi-flexor. Then you put your finger over the biceps and hit it. When we hit it, we find that the flexion of the elbow and muscles contraction of the biceps can be seen. This is C5, C6. Then we go to tricep jerk. Tricep jerk मध्ये you have to do the semi-flex, keep hand like this, flex up, flex, and then this is the tricep tendon. Then you do it here. When you do it, you find that the hand is extended. Triceps is C6, C7. And then we come to brachioradialis. Now, brachioradialis, you have to keep the hand position just like bicep jerk, and you have to keep over the series. There is a contraction of the brachioradialis. Here again, the root value is C5, C6. To summarize upper limb, bicep jerk, tricep jerk, and brachioradialis. So these are the three jerks in upper limb. Lower limb I have already talked to you. Then we come to the plantar reflex. Most important, I have been telling you all along that Babinski's sign is a pathognomonic sign of upper motor neuron lesion. And therefore, how to look for Babinski's sign? What you should do, take a blunt object, even key will do, and after that, hold the leg like this and start from lateral side, from below, and then come to the base of the grade. See this is the normal flexor response. See it again. We start from the lower part, hold the leg, and then starting from lower side, come to the base, and you get a classical flexion of the all fingers, which is a normal phenomenon. Now, if the Babinski is positive, what happens? In that case, what happens is that this finger will go out. This goes back and this is fanning of outer. So Babinski sign मध्ये extension of great toe, fanning of outer toe, and the flexion of the ankle, flexion of the knee, and flexion of the knee. I will repeat. Babinski's sign is said to be positive when there is extension of the toe, fanning of the outer toe, flexion at the ankle, hip, knee. And therefore we say that Babinski is positive. If it is on one side, commonest cause is hemiplegia. If it is bilateral, it is obviously an indication of paraplegia. Now, there are some other methods by which you can find out Babinski's sign. And those methods generally are not asked to average students, but then those students who are doing well, they are asked about it. Now, the method is, one is open hands method. What you do in open hand is that you put your finger over the knee joint आणि anterior tibia जो आहे त्याच्यावर दाबायचं असेल. You press like this, and then you find that if there is internal damage, this toe there is extension. This is called as open hands method. Second method is Gordon's method. In Gordon's method, what we do is that you have to only squeeze gastric membrane, squeezing of gastric membrane. Then third is Gonda's reflex. In Gonda, what you do is take fourth finger and then purgalizer. A purgalizer, the great toe comes like this. This is called as Gonda's reflex. So open hands, Gordon, Gonda, and then Schaefer. So what you do in Schaefer is that you start from below and come over the dorsum of the foot. And then Shadox. Shadox is below the lateral malleus. When the stimulus is given below the lateral malleus, it is called as Shadox reflex. तो मित्रों 5 मेथड है by which Babinski can be found out. One is, in addition to the routine standard test over Babinski, Open-Hands method, Gordon's method, Gunda's method, Shaddock's method. So these are, and Schaefer method. These are the 5 ways by which plantar can be elicited. And therefore, to sum up, we find that in motor system examination, size of muscles, tone of muscles in reference to hypotonia as well as hypertonia, size of muscle, wasting called as a atrophy or increase in size called as hypertrophy. But this hypertrophy is not real, therefore it is called as pseudo hypertrophy. Pseudo is false. It's a false hypertrophy because muscle is weak, and this pseudo hypertrophy is classically seen in Duchenne type of muscular dystrophy. I am going to show you one photograph where you will find that patient is climbing on his own legs, and therefore in muscular dystrophy you get hypertrophy, which is pseudo in gastrocnemius muscle. So after knowing about tone, I have told in tone that the classman spasticity and lead pipe rigidity. Then power of muscle, I have told you classification. I have told you the various ways by which power could be detected or muscles could be tested. Then coordination in upper limb, the finger nose test, in lower limb, heel nail test. Annular movement not important, or if they are to be summarized, fasciculations, chorea, tremors, acidosis. And then we come to reflexes. In reflexes in lower limb, knee jerk and ankle jerk. In upper limb, biceps, triceps, and supinator. And then we came to clonus, patellar clonus. And then clonus, I have shown you the mistakes which students do. And then we come to Babinski sign. Repeat, Babinski sign is said to be positive when there is extension of toe, fanning of the outer toe, and flexion at the ankle, knee, and hip. There are 5 methods by which the Babinski, and they are the open hands method, Gordon's method, Gunda's method, Schaefer method, and Shaddock's method. And this is how we do examination of motor system. I think you should practice, go to the ward, see the patient, and unless you do practice, you cannot be perfect. And therefore, if you see repeatedly, then it becomes easy for us, for you to master examination of motor system, which is an integral part of the examination of central nervous system. Thank you. Thank you.